the field at all?
A little bit, not much. How about you?
Not at all. Had a bunch of extended family come to meet a baby. And that makes me the hostel.
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah.
Is Friday? I don't know, I didn't know anything about it.
Hey, we'll be live here in a little bit.
Not for
Camera's on already.
Okay.
Yeah, I just didn't know anything about it. I'm guessing there was.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening.
Hello?
First up is additions to and or approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve?
Second?
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, agenda approved as presented. First up is a public hearing for ordinance 643, rezoning lots 1 and 2 of block 10 in the countryside edition.
Mayor and council, we received an application to rezone 2 lots in the countryside edition from multifamily to general business. The application comes with a joint request of the city of Lennox and the owner, Nielsen Development. You'll remember the original TIF classification for countryside was affordable housing. With construction expenses increasing exponentially over the last few years, it's been very difficult for builders to keep that cost of construction below the state cap. So in order to stay compliant with the rules and regulations surrounding TIF districts, we recommended changing the classification to an economic development TIF. But to do so, there has to be a commercial or industrial component to that district. So the 2 parcels in question are part of a larger parent parcel, or where they've been subdivided now. Since the application at our request, they were replatted. Parcels awarded on the south by general business, on the east by general business, to the west with multifamily residential, and north with agricultural. That's Lincoln County zoned. The application is consistent with the comprehensive plan and supports a smooth transition buffer between business and residential zones. The Lennox Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval to the city council at their October meeting. My recommendation is a motion to approve first reading.
Do you have a plot to show?
Yep. I'll pull it up on GIS.
What's that right there?
That's for Apple TV.
There it is. That would look like a photo.
Yep. The 2 parcels we're looking at, so this is Sunshine in this bottom right-hand corner. This is the first lot. This is the second lot. You've got twin homes to the west of there. Got Strasser to the north.
What's the big one to the east?
That's commercial. That's the one that's owned by 2 lots? No, they'll just be commercially available, so. There's not a ton of room there, but it is big enough for, it's about half the size of the other lot.
And the two to the west, they've been made aware.
Yeah, the sign's been out there for the planning commission public hearing and this public hearing.
Has anybody from the city talked to them at all about it though, or just the notices?
Just notice, yeah.
Motion approved first reading.
Second.
I know there's nobody here, but
Yeah, sorry. I'll open the meeting, the floor, open the meeting for public comment with this ordinance. Seeing none, we will close the public comment part of it. And so we already had a motion and a second. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ordinance 643, first reading passes. Next up, visitors to be heard. Seeing none, we will move on to the consent agenda.
Motion approved.
Second.
The motion is second, any discussion there?
Mayor and Council, just a note on the finance report, Denise is working on fixing an issue we found late this afternoon with the fund balance for water. I think it's just a reallocation issue with our SRF reimbursements, so just need to move money from one place to another. I was looking through it this afternoon and saw that the balance was rather low in that water fund. And we found the issue, it's just a matter of making it fix, so.
I like your comments about the readdressing the CIP in 2024. I think that makes sense, reassess what progress we've made, what's still yet to be accomplished, and put together a reasonable timeline to get that work done.
Mm-hmm.
So that's exciting, and I look forward to being a part of that.
All right, any other discussion there?
I believe Burlington Northern is still holding up one aspect of our project.
Just one permit still outstanding. With two, the contractor feels confident enough to schedule it though, so they're asked last week to move forward with that.
Great news.
They'll be doing that work over the winter, so we'll probably keep the crossing at Elm Street closed until then.
Sure.
Once that's complete, it'll just be a gravel surface for the rest of the winter, so.
Good. Thank you.
Yes.
All right, we'll do a roll call. Swear.
Aye.
Welch.
Aye.
Mauer.
Aye.
Doherty.
Aye.
Bowers.
Aye.
Riley.
Aye.
All right, consent agenda is approved. On to old business, health insurance plans.
Thank you, Mayor. I did put an update out there for you guys on, the 3 cities, so I contacted, the health plan and asked them who else was on Plan G, and there's 3 cities. Spearfish, Winter, and Volga, and they all do something different. Spearfish offers a difference between the single policy copay and the HSA single plan. But you have to realize that they're on a plan that has a higher deductible than what we do. So they're
Cheaper.
yeah.
Yep.
Yep. So anyway, and then they give $50 a month, and their employees can pick it like a la carte, whatever they want to do with it. They can apply it to their HSA, they can apply it to their vision, whatever, health insurance. So that's them. Winter, they did the split where they took the difference and gave their employees everything back and said, here's the difference between the 2 plans, and what the difference is, we'll put into your HSA. Volga, the city kept 30% and then gave their employees 70%. So Volga did keep some of the savings for the city.
Just
just to clarify these numbers on here that you have for Plan D versus Plan G, is that the city's portion of what we
No.
pay?
That is the total amount of the premium. So for a single policy, the city pays 100%. So
Okay.
that 843.50 is
Yep.
the city's, and 707 would be the city's. With the employee plus one all the way down, it's 70% paid by the city, 30% paid by the employee.
So knowing all this, how soon do we have to have a determination?
Well, we're kind of pretty close.
Right.
Because our benefits meeting is on Wednesday. So
Like
I
in 2
do
days?
have 2 separate things made up, just in case you guys decided to do it tonight, so that I can offer it to them. But, because really all it is saying that we want these 2 plans, as far as Blue Cross Blue Shield and the health pool is concerned. It's more of what do we want to do to offer it for the employees. Do you know what I
So
mean?
the issue of what we contribute towards that HSA
If
could
you
be
want.
resolved in the coming month. No, I think that makes a difference to the folks that would be second
They're gonna wanna know.
Where are we at currently?
for premiums.
I have, did you get my memo?
I didn't get a chance to look at it.
Right here, so
Um,
currently for single, well,
Let me,
like if you're a single, why would you go to the low?
That doesn't make sense to
No.
go to the lower one. When it's
For what?
100% paid.
If you're the single and the city pays 100%, what's the advantage of wanting to go to a HSA?
well, that's why I
Well, you
say, if you give something back to them,
But why would you even want to? Why wouldn't you want the lower?
because as a,
The advantage of an HSA is you pay a lower premium every month. They're
Yeah,
not
but
paying.
you
you
also
get
have
the,
HSA.
you get the
You get
money
the
into
money,
your
money.
HSA account.
you can put it in your,
But
yeah,
that's
it's a
the
health savings account.
I
And
get
so you
that.
can build that and build that and build that.
So if you're a
But
healthy,
you could use that for anything
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
at when you retire.
if you're not using it, it can just accrue there.
Right.
You can invest it, you can use it for retiree medical when you get to
Right.
that age, and there's all kinds of things you can do.
Right. So as a young.
Yeah, if you're young or
Me.
single.
Younger than me. It's a good, I would say that if I was in my 20s, yeah, absolutely, I'd be going for that HSA, especially if the city was gonna contribute something. Because, I go to the doctor once a year, and if I have to pay $200, and most of the time it was just for a general checkup, and that's covered, under their policy, so.
No, that's what we're talking
But
about.
it's not that anybody's clamoring for this
Right,
either.
no,
So-
right, I mean, I'm just saying.
I don't think
Most companies
anybody's
offer
easy to
it with
crush.
the HSA
No.
since it's
No.
lower cost.
No, and I mean, we can
Or up, you know,
offer it
some
next
money.
year too, and,
Yeah.
you know,
Company puts some
we've
money
got-
in
it
there.
just
So
so
we're
happened
talking
that we
about
just
how
brought it
much
up
do
and,
we-
Sure.
Do we
you
give
know,
them a full
as a-
difference or
as
some
an
lesser amount?
elect, because there's a lot of companies that do that, they offer 2 types of plans,
This is-
so.
Yep.
Mhm.
I've never seen one this lucrative as far as a kick into HSA.
Agreed.
Right,
Yes.
You haven't
and,
seen anything get kicked in?
At
Oh,
this
I
time.
definitely
Not
have,
this
but
much.
Not
Not
like
as
seven
much.
fifty for single, 1,500 for employee plus family.
Yeah,
That's the most I've seen.
My
Yeah.
company, I just got it and I
Right.
forwarded it to Nate.
Mhm.
We get 1,000 for single and 1,500 for family. So that's
So
one, that's
we
one data
were-
point.
We were at 750, or no, we were at 1,000 and 1,500, and we dropped to 1,000 and 750.
Yeah, this is a pretty big number for a family of the $4,500 is,
right,
it's a
and
massive kick in.
that's not, I mean, I just wanted you guys to see what the savings was, and so you can do whatever you want with it. I mean, so like I said, Volga was kinda in the middle, they did keep part of it, and they gave part of it back. Spearfish was really on the other side of the line, that they really didn't give anything back, except for, they offered $50 a month for whatever they wanted to use it for, so you didn't even have to take an HSA to get that $50 a month. And Winter just decided that their employees get everything, so.
Those are the only 3 that are offering it.
Yeah, yeah. But if you lived in Winter, don't you think you'd
Well, you
I'll
probably
bring up
got,
something.
what, four or five employees,
Yeah.
maybe six.
Who, Renner?
Renner?
Oh, actually, they have quite a few.
Do they?
Yeah,
They
they
have
have
what?
an HS, or the HR person, they have a finance officer, I think they have an administrator.
Um,
Yeah, there's
I'm
quite a
sure they
few of
do.
them that come to the finance department, or whatever, finance meeting, which I was kinda surprised
The
about.
state, I'm on the HSA and I can get up to $900 back for my family plan, but I have to jump through a lot of hoops to get it. It's not just handed.
It doesn't just come.
Right, you've gotta have a physical done.
You have to have a physical and you have to do like all these other activities to earn points to get
Right.
some of it. So I mean, it's
Mhm.
not just a, give me,
Right.
Do we require physical here to be on our plan?
Not if they take it right away, so they have 30 days from the time that they come on. There's no questions asked, and then when they come on for open enrollment, they can come on at any time. So you can go off or come on during open enrollment.
I think maybe this deserves more time
I
for
do
study.
too. I think if nobody's clamoring for it and there's not being any heartbreak that it hasn't happened, I think we just need some time to think.
Yeah, I think somewhere in between is where my head's at.
I agree, but where is that? Yeah.
I mean, I think, like what Bill said, this is about where we should be at the top anyway, if we shouldn't go any higher than that probably.
Right. I think that's still really fair.
Yeah.
I'm guessing
Oh, yeah,
that,
absolutely.
I'm guessing that SHRM or somebody similar has some data on what's being offered. I just think there's more work that we can put into this if we're gonna, like I said, there's no reason we have to do it.
I mean, we wanna be competitive, but we don't wanna be like.
Yeah.
Giving out too much, I mean.
Yeah.
We don't want it to. We're still using taxpayer money to.
Right.
We need to be prudent with it.
Right, and if there's a way that our employees and our taxpayers can mutually gain from this, that'd be
Right.
wonderful.
Exactly.
Okay, so we'll visit that in the future.
Do I just go ahead and table it then?
Yeah.
Or do
I
we
move
need to?
I'll move the table.
Second.
A motion, a second to table. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, on to new business. Central Basin Fire Project Pay App 7.
Mayor and council, Mitch was unable to join us tonight, he had a conflict in his schedule, but did send pay application 7. You'll see we're a little over 50% complete at this point on this contract, which brings us down to 8.6% retainage. Again, that keeps reducing until substantial completion. This application is for just over $321,000. Work continues on the project. Asphalt on phase 5 was completed last week. If topsoil is not completed today, it will be soon on Elm Street. I really have a lot of work going on there today. And then concrete work on phase 5 started today. They looked like they were ready to pour. They were forming up the west side of Cedar this afternoon. My guess is the sidewalk should be done this week, and then they'll do approaches next week. Not a whole lot of approaches over there, so. We recommend a motion to approve.
So move. Second.
A motion, a second. Any discussion?
It's good to see the progress pick back up and really,
Yeah.
Weather's helped out a lot.
Whether it's-
Yes, it has. And if it helps out just a little bit more next week, we'll be in really good shape. So, we're pretty confident this will wrap up this year without any real hiccups, so.
great news.
All right, we'll do roll call. Mauer.
Aye.
Welch.
Aye.
Doherty.
Aye.
Riley.
Aye.
Bowers.
Aye.
Swear. All right, Central Basin 4 Pay App 7 is approved. Next, policies and procedures.
Mayor and council, if you haven't read through the entire packet here, I do have a summary in the memo. You'll recall that earlier this year, we began an effort to update all of our policies and procedures. Most of those updates are technical and not real substantive, but some updates and changes were proposed. I've outlined those by title. Go through this one by one. In personnel, we removed language restricting an employee's ability to become a social contact with a vendor or customer. I think that was a little bit of a reach. Clarified that background checks are conducted on full and part-time employees and not all employees, so not seasonal employees. reflected our current practice for the standard workday, which substitutes morning and afternoon breaks with a 30-minute lunch break, a paid 30-minute break. Revised the mileage from the state rate to the federal rate.
Why is that?
The state rate does not move at all. It really doesn't update at all. And it lags quite a ways behind the federal rate. I think most, I wouldn't say most, some cities have made that change, simply because the state rate doesn't adjust much. So, change the leave without pay approval to city administrator and department head instead of the city council. Reason we changed that is because when that happens, it's usually very quick. And it needs to happen in a hurry, otherwise we're gonna have to call special meetings, those kinds of things. We have done that in the past. I think Sam and Billy were probably around for that. I don't know if anybody else was. And updated the organizational chart to current status. On the city council, we updated the language on informal gatherings and on Robert's Rules of Order. We did include you remember back in 2018, the city council passed a resolution on ethical conduct for elected officials. We included that language in here as one of your policies. Clarified language about committee meetings and work sessions being open to the public based on some conversations we had here earlier this year. Then we added a conflict of interest policy at the urging of our auditors. That's something they've been asking for. And really something we probably need to have now that we're getting a fair amount of federal funding over that $750,000 threshold. Boards and commissions, we updated language about eligibility for planning commission appointment based on the ordinance, and added some guidance on agendas and public meetings. On safety, we're reinstating the safety committee with meetings every quarter. We cleaned up some old language about fire department inspection of city buildings. In the past, they inspected city buildings against fire code. Well, we haven't adopted the fire code, so clean that up. Created some new forms for near misses and inspections. Code enforcement, really just formatting changes. Title VI, Parks and Recreation. These were gone through by the Park Board last month. A few changes recommended. So we cleaned up language around facility use and scheduling. More specific language in the Code of Ethics. We added an investigation procedure for violations of the Code of Ethics and penalties for violations of the Code of Ethics. Requires all practices to be recorded on the Parks and Rec calendar. In the past, it's been all organized like games and so on and so forth around there. We've got enough teams and enough conflicts that we really need to have those practices on there as well. Eliminates 14U baseball from the policy since that was taken over by Legion. Clarifies language for alcohol use at adult programs. And adds a new chapter on Parks and Recreation program timeline to help with planning and program administration. Internal controls and ambulance was technical changes and formatting changes only. Building services is no changes. So recommend the motion to approve.
On discussion now, so, under Code of Ethics, 9 sanctions, C,
Parks and Rec?
no, City Council.
Okay.
There's a misspelled word under letter C. And then I was wondering if we could clarify under sanctions, just what is meant by this process of Code of Ethics, because it is confusing. So if a municipal official is accused of violating this Code of Ethics, the City Council may investigate said allegation. So I would, not that we have to do it in here, but just in this room, what does investigate mean? And then if the investigation reveals a violation, a possible violation, the council will conduct a hearing in exec after giving notice to the official accused of violating the Code of Ethics. So what is defined by a hearing compared to investigation? And then after the hearing, if a violation has been determined, then we meet in exec for reprimand. So it talks about notifying the official, and so I just want to clarify, what do we mean? And it's a little bit confusing.
Yeah, I wasn't here when this was adopted. I think
Sure.
Grant might have been. I don't recall what precipitated this. if we were to have a violation of the code of ethics, and we're going to go back to this, my guess is that the mayor would appoint someone on the city council as a group to investigate, or some other outside party. If it reveals a possible violation, that hearing would be an executive session, of course, but you can conduct a formal hearing or an informal hearing. It could be a question and answer session, it could be one side presents an argument for that their violation has occurred. The person who was accused of violating the policy or the code of ethics can have an opportunity to defend themselves against that claim. But we don't have a procedure for how that is established. If we were to have a situation like that, my suggestion would be to establish a policy for that process, for the investigation.
So if there's, a possible violation, or if we think there might be a violation, on my computer, sorry. I just wanna clarify the process, so that would be then taken, let's say I am concerned about a member on the board, I would take that to the mayor and then we would open an investigation prior to exec. And also the member would need to be notified.
They need to be notified, I think they need to be given notice of the accusation.
So notice of the accusation outside of the council meeting, prior to the council meeting.
Yes, yeah. So after you give notice to the official accused of violating, then you can hold the hearing in executive session.
And a hearing, just by definition, is just basically a discussion, and then if we determine that a vote is needed for some type of, because that's even, because the hearing is before a reprimand, so I just
Correct.
wanna make
The
sure
way I
that,
understand it is that if somebody thinks there's something that violates it, some sort of investigation is done, we need to establish how that's done.
Right.
What-
see, that's the part where I'm struggling with.
How do you get to the
What's-
point where
What
you-
is an investigation? And it's before exec, you know.
I think it can depend on the severity of the situation. You know, if it's, Billy violated it, Bill is accusing him, Billy violated it by, I don't know, disclosing something from executive session, let's say. Nothing substantive, nothing illegal, so on and so forth. Maybe that's just something where this group handles it. You discuss it, you investigate it, as you feel determined. If it's something where there's something more serious, whether it's an allegation of sexual harassment against an employee, or something criminal in nature, I think in those cases we would look to the mayor and city attorney for guidance on how best to conduct that investigation, because it probably needs to be done by an outside third party.
And I can speak to this, Councilman Lake.
Sure.
I would just say, over the years, we've had, due process, if you read the cases, it's a lot of focus on what processes really do. I don't know how long I've been here, but probably getting older. And, we've seen a lot of stuff. Sometimes we've actually had some very serious accusations that were criminal in nature that I had to look at and said, I wouldn't even have jurisdiction to do anything if this is true. And we've referred that out to third party. We've gone to the AG's office, said, hey, we have this report, will you step in, find out if there's anything here that needs to be done. If it's something that's less severe, one of the city officials, Brett Lovin was speeding on his way into the meeting, what's appropriate, that might be something that's just discussed informally, and then a written reprimand, something less. And if it's something that's, more serious, you might have, we have these hearings in the, before council, typically they're open hearings, if there aren't criminal aspects to it, if it's ethical, and then, the council would vote, and typically that would be just an open meeting where you get up and say your piece. No, I didn't do that. You would call witnesses, though you generally wouldn't have powers to subpoena, but it's really just kind of graduated. So it just kind of depends on the nature of it, and you see so many different you know, everything from improper conduct, you know, you shouldn't be, you know, involved in some discussions that are going on to, like I said, some that were literally criminal, and it was pretty serious allegations, so, that's kind of where that's evolved over, and that's why they leave it vague, it's just because it's so varied. So,
Thank you.
Just reading through that, section 9, bullet C that you called out with the typo in it.
Yeah,
It calls for a 2/3
To
of
expel.
city council to expel. How does that work when you've got one of the members would probably then be a non-voting member? You need 80%?
well, wouldn't you be able to wouldn't you be able to vote for yourself? I mean, I don't know, I guess,
I think
Just
I wouldn't
curious.
recommend it, but you would still need 4 members to vote in favor of expelling.
I would say if it was an official hearing, I understand why you wouldn't be able to vote for yourself.
Either way, if you need 4, then it's 80% really, I mean, it's.
Right.
Is that by statute, Brett? It says 985 for expulsion.
I would guess it is, but I'd have to look.
And it's not just 2/3 present, it's 2/3 of the full
It would be those
council.
voting, and I would expect the person who was the subject would have to recuse themselves. I don't think you would get a vote on your own.
But they could be present like for the discussion,
That's
just not the
By
vote.
statute.
South Dakota codified law.
If it's in an open meeting, yes, yep. And I can do a short memo if you'd like, I can look it up,
Yeah, it's clear.
I didn't write it actually, I was just around when they were talking about it, so I remember. And just over the years, I've seen different cases where municipalities have been sued about the process and what it entails, and the opinions are pretty strong in terms of the right of the municipality to adjust to the situation at hand.
Even looking at bullet C there, under SDCL 985, that relates specifically to bribery in office, so that's still a very limited statute. And yes, we'll correct that typo. If that's the only typo in 9 chapters of policy.
I
procedures,
read through
I'll be
every
very
word
happy.
of it. No, I didn't. I tried.
I hope, if I do find typos after you approve, that you don't mind my making those adjustments.
I was relieved to see that Parks and Rec took the action they did to put a process in place for performance improvement where needed.
Yeah, and some really good suggestions too. I hadn't had in there that there be a notification. Well, yeah, there should be a notification to Park Board, because they're gonna be the first ones that hear about it.
Right.
Just, I think we've dealt with this every summer. Let's formalize the process. Let's make this more defined. And I'm not under any impression that means we're not going to continue having issues every summer. But this is a policy that's been cleaned up a couple of times now, and
We have something to point to, and this is how we handle
yes,
it.
exactly.
Right, and this isn't everyone starts at 0 now.
Right, right. I think that's great.
Motion to approve the updates of procedures?
Can I, sorry, I just have one more clarification. So under Park and Rec, just as we're talking about this code of ethics, there's specifically penalties listed under Park and Rec, but not under the council one. I just wanna make sure that we're
Is this one?
Right. So do we want that spelled out where you know, Brett kind of talked about leaving it vague, like first, so, it's under 6.1. Chapter
About
6.
halfway down, failure to abide may result in the following
Page
penalties.
8 of that one.
First violation is a warning, second violation is suspension for 1 full season. So if they violate in July of next summer, they'll be suspended through the following season. Third violation is permanent dismissal. Certain violations against children may constitute immediate permanent dismissal.
So this is not elected official, this is for,
Pardon?
Well,
coaches.
I mean, I still think that's gotta be subjective, like, what did they violate?
It does go on to say that.
Okay,
There are things like involving children that if you do that, there are no warnings.
okay,
Yeah.
good.
And I would suspect that anything physical with a child is going to result in a permanent bar.
Right.
There may be other serious issues as well, but
so,
But I think the difference from the council, the way I understand it is, if you take it to the executive session where you have the hearing or the discussion, it gives you 3 options. If you take action, you can reprimand them without a public, forum, like basically you can keep it quiet, but reprimand that person. You can reprimand them and then come into open session and make it public what was done. Or you can vote by a 2/3 vote to expel.
but the reprimand would come after notifying the
Right.
official outside of the
Yep.
meeting and then come, okay, I just wanna make sure we're,
when it comes to the code for ethical conduct for elected officials, I can't remember the exact title of the resolution. I think it's important for the council to always understand that under SDCL 9-A, the council judges its own members. If you want to determine that there be more or less severe penalties, that's up to you to decide. We'll do as directed. This is just going off of that resolution that was established back in 2018.
could we strike, against children in this note? Certain violations against children may constitute an immediate permanent dismissal from all Lennox Park and Rec programs, because I could argue that the violation that I had wasn't against children, it was against an adult, but
Maybe it was
at
violated.
a game.
Yeah.
So I think not, as least
Keep it as
specific.
vague, keep
Thank
it as
you.
vague as possible.
So strike against children.
That's a good call out.
So if you're going to do a motion, it's as amended.
I'll make a motion as amended to approve these policies and procedure updates.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, policies and procedures approved as amended. Next, BNSF Foundation Grant.
We've got a few grant applications here I'm looking for approval on. The first is from the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Foundation for the Lennox Historical Museum. Recall we budgeted $150,000 for repairs next year at the museum. I'd like to offset that to the extent possible with some grants to reduce that cost for taxpayers. This foundation has an area of focus on cultural preservation and civic organizations that I think complements the work that we're seeking to do here. The grant request is for $20,000. The most recent one we received from BNSF swimming pool in 2019. I recommend the motion be approved.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, BNSF Foundation Grant application approved.
Thank you for your work on that.
Next up is AED grant.
Mayor and council, this was recommended by the park board at their October meeting. We have AEDs at many of our buildings, but we don't have any in either of the concession stands at Western Park. So park board member Steve Creasy brought that to our attention. We had good discussion at the October meeting. Obviously, that's a safety issue for those that are attending our games. Purchase price is low enough that we can fit it in our budget. We got enough time here to offer some grants before we need to start the next season. So this one is through a couple of AED manufacturers. We're requesting $1,300 per AED for 2 life packs, which is similar to what we have at other locations. If we don't get this grant, there are others available. Bear and Sanford both have AED grant opportunities, but Bear and Sanford also have other grant opportunities that I prefer to use for something else if we need to. So I recommend a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion there?
We did receive AEDs from Sanford for the pool in 2019.
That's right. Yep.
And it was actually the AED, like it wasn't just the fund for it, it was the actual.
I would just say that if that gets approved, if we do get them, like, this time of year, we would move them inside, because I don't think it's good for them to be out in the freezing temperatures. I know we have them on our trucks, and they're supposed to be brought in.
Yeah.
Good call out.
All right, we had a motion and a second, so all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, AED grant application approved. Mid-American Energy funding request.
Mayor and council, one more here for the museum. This one is from Mid-American. Last time we received funding from Mid-American was for a swimming pool in 2019. We're asking for $10,000 in this request.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion there? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I abstain.
All right. Mid-American Energy funding request is approved.
Buffett's right hand man.
Item F, dispatch agreement with Lincoln County.
Mayor and council, you recall that the city of Lennox and Lincoln County, excuse me, entered into an agreement in 2020 for dispatch services for Lennox. That agreement expires at the end of this year. The city has proposed a new agreement. This agreement doubles the cost per capita of dispatch from $4 resident to $8. Chief Erickson did request Sheriff Swenson's attendance at tonight's meeting, but he declined. From my perspective, I would appreciate some sort of explanation for that figure, particularly since Lincoln County's dispatch budget has only increased 19% since 2020, not 100%. Now that being said, the amount is less than what we would pay with other county dispatch systems and far below the amount we would pay to employ our own dispatch. And overall, we are more pleased with Lincoln County than we were 3 years ago. We had some concrete suggestions for them that they took to heart. Things are going well. So other communities have already agreed to this new agreement. We recommend a motion to approve.
And you really
So-
know negotiated and something like that.
So this is a published, like everyone pays this rate, this isn't a
Yes.
special
Yeah,
Lennox rate?
so T pays this, Canton. I'd have to check on Beersford. I think Beersford might run entirely out of Union. I don't think Lincoln runs theirs.
What were our dispatch services before?
Free.
I mean, but who,
It was all Lincoln County.
who was
Yeah.
Lincoln County?
But 3 years ago, and this is something that you're going to see more throughout the state. Minnehaha, nobody else, only Sioux Falls has PD for Minnehaha, but there are other services that are in the county. Here is probably the highest. I think that's probably close to double what we pay, if I remember right. But I just think this is something that's going to become far more common. The state continues to refuse to adequately fund local law enforcement services. You're going to see the local law enforcement services turn to their partners and expect to fund a share of that pie.
I still feel that our taxpayers deserve some type of explanation on, why it's doubling, even though, I am sure it's for, increased resources. I would hope it goes towards additional staffing and personnel, et cetera. But having that breakdown would be valuable. It probably exists publicly somewhere, but having them bring that to us, I think, you know, when they're requesting double.
Is this dollar figure 4 to 8 per resident for a year? Is that,
It's for all 3 years.
oh, for all 3 years?
Yeah.
So we're talking about $4 times what, 2,500, 2,700?
It'll be based on our 2020 census, I believe, so
10
24,
grand,
23.
10 grand over 3 years, it's not like it's huge money.
Not 10 grand a year.
No. So what we would pay is, 24, 20, I don't have a calculator.
2,500 bucks.
24, 23 times 8,
For a 3-year contract.
each year,
Oh, each year.
correct.
Okay,
Okay.
That's different than what we've been.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, that's,
so it's gonna be about 10 grand
A year.
additional per year.
Additional, right. We're already paying 10 now to go to 20, just shy of.
Correct.
So are we budgeted for that? I mean, can we,
Will did budget for an increase, but I don't think it was for that much. It's probably closer to $6 we budgeted for.
but like you mentioned, Sam, like we don't have an alternative quote we can go get.
Right. Yeah, we're held over the barrel here. I agree though
Right.
with Alderman Bauer in that pursuing an actual explanation as to why this is, what their plans are would be,
Yeah,
we'd
so-
recommend you to do that. So
What are we
can-
getting for this extra?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, right. What necessitates this growth when you're showing us that it was 19% over the same period? Why are we being doubled? Simple answer, I would
Yeah.
expect.
I mean, we went from 0 to this. I mean,
0 to 4, and now we're at 8.
I mean, it's probably, they weren't recovering their true costs at 4, so they did some sort of an assessment and
They probably still aren't recovering their true cost for what our share of that
Right.
service is, but, I don't know, for example, if the city of Sioux Falls is paying that.
right.
You know, if there are calls that come in to Lincoln County from Sioux Falls, it's not just all the metro.
I mean, I think we're all more than happy to pay dollars a year individually if that were the case for access to emergency services, however, that
Be
explanation is
upfront and
important.
transparent about it. Right.
Yeah,
It's hard for
absolutely.
us to be upfront and transparent if we don't know what the reasoning is.
Motion to approve the dispatch agreement.
Second.
A motion, a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, dispatch agreement with Lincoln County is approved. Ordinance 642, Rural Service District.
Mayor and Council, this is cleaning up some legal descriptions in our current rural service district, which is attached to our ordinances. There are some properties that are deemed in here that are protected from the impact of municipal tax levy until they're developed. So last year we added the Alpine addition to that district, and since that time, one of those parcels was subdivided for sale. As a result, Lincoln County asked that we update the property descriptions, and that's accomplished with this ordinance. So I make a motion to approve.
So move. Second.
Motion, a second. Any discussion there? All right, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, ordinance 642 is approved. Pool painting proposal.
Mayor and Council, this quote comes to us from Mung Painting and Sandblasting out of Cherokee, Iowa. We noticed this spring some areas in the pool that probably needed to have some attention. We did some touch-ups and thought, let's see how it goes through the summer. It weathered it fine, but we don't know how the winter's going to move. So Mung, you might recall, is the company that did the influent trough at the wastewater plant this summer and did a very good job. So we naturally called them. Turns out they're the ones that did the pool in the first place. Typically they see a lifetime of between 3 to 7 years on these paint jobs for city pools. Next year will be our 5th year of doing so. So what you see in this proposal is what they would do for $43,730. Brian and I have in the, I don't know if I have a memo in here, my initial memo recommended approval. Brian and I think we'd be comfortable waiting to see what it looks like next spring. And if it needs it at that point, then we can still secure it for the fall. Obviously, the downside of that is it might cost us a little bit more than it will right now. But it's entirely possible it can go another year or 2 years, or if it just needs touch-ups, those kind of things. Problem with touch-ups is that they're very noticeable, especially on the blue. So that blue line on the top of the pool, anything you do to that is very noticeable in terms of touch-up. So it'll look a little weird. I don't know how much I necessarily care about that. I mean, aesthetics are important, but that thing sees a lot of sunshine and a lot of chlorine, and I bet it's gonna fade pretty quick anyway, so.
Was Carruthers, consulted at all as far as, two things, recommendations or anything like in our original warranty, which I believe it was only 2 years?
It's either 1 or 2, certainly.
And so I think we're past that, but, or if they have, if that was the original company, then obviously that's who they recommended initially.
Yeah.
But I
And
guess
we were
just-
very happy with their work. We can always go out and get more quotes as well. I think if anything, take this as knowledge for what's to come, for additional expenses on this pool every 3 to 7 years. I didn't say it.
Is this the same application they did when they initially did the pool?
Yeah, they'd sandblast it and then reapply pretty much.
And it's the same 2 coats, so
Is there,
however you say, Series 161 epoxy.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to pronounce that.
is there any of these that are
So the
safety
teeth side of it.
concerns?
Pardon?
Are any of these safety concerns that we need to address sooner rather than later, or is there some work we can do now and some we
I
stretch
can't
out?
think of any safety concerns.
There's the non-slip.
The non-slip is working well. We don't have any concerns there. We did epoxy fill a crack this spring, if I remember right. Normal cracking, wear and tear, that kind of stuff. I think the more serious spot was around one of the anchors for the Oriole bird. That was last year. We ended up putting in it's like an epoxy concrete strengthener, and then painted over top of that.
That Oriole bird just gives us trouble.
I believe that Oriole bird is up in T getting resurfaced right now.
I never even, was it even
They took it
deployed
out.
this year?
It was, but I don't know if it's the sun or temperature change or what, but it had some pretty serious cracking on it that started peeling.
And then
That
they
stuff
get,
is sharp, so we were kind of afraid we were gonna cut somebody with it.
sure.
And we decided to move forward with trying to rehabilitate it instead of replace it with something else.
Instead of.
I feel obligated to do so.
Right.
It's one expensive bird, I'll tell you.
It was.
One lawsuit will make it more expensive.
We added it on, didn't we?
Yeah, it was an add-on.
I don't remember exactly.
Who
how much
voted for
it was.
that?
Everybody. I'd be curious just to get a couple other bids and maybe we learn
See
something.
what it looks
from
like in
that.
the
Yeah.
spring.
Just, I mean, maybe in that bid process, we find something out that's better. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure this is probably a standard deal.
Or like, is all 8 of these items necessary, and like how much incremental is each, like, is there like 4 of the important ones that it's 20 grand instead of 43 grand? That covers us, and we can do the other ones less often. I don't know. It seems like a big cost for every 3 to 7 years.
And that's a big window, 3 to 7.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's a lot of
Could be
variation in there.
2 applications in there.
I mean, I'm sure.
Maybe
13,
maybe
17.
McGuire will give us a long-term maintenance plan.
Hey, there we go.
All right, we'll revisit that in the spring.
Great.
Ambulance financial adjustments.
That's you.
Okay, I was just. I'm like,
You're
no,
the
we
real
won.
one.
Okay, so, I think you guys all know from, when we switched over from Ambil to Dell's, we had quite an amount in the AR. And I think it's just time to get rid of it. I mean, write it off, because I don't think we're gonna collect, I did do a spreadsheet, and I think I put that in there, I'm not sure. If I didn't, I apologize, I meant to. Basically, that shows, I went through and found who was still making payments on those, and basically took that amount out and showed a balance. So we would leave in about, $2,500. And that would then, once those payments came in, that should wipe it out. So with that being said, $199,388.29 is the amount that we would need to eliminate.
Is that?
Are they all
Number-
similar time frames, or, I mean,
Not right, that's not right.
should we have like a
Yeah.
cutoff of?
That's the standard,
Here's my book.
200 is the
So,
total. She
these
subtracted
are
that out 'cause we're
all
actually getting some
ones
payments
that,
for
Oh, I see. That makes sense. Okay.
They go back anywhere from 13, 14, all the way up through 21. And there's just stuff, I don't know. this
There's
is-
nothing legally we can do to recoup that.
I don't know.
There may be, I didn't know if you wanted that exact or not.
Yeah, we'll be discussing that.
Yeah.
All right, Alderman Riley got disconnected.
But either here or there, if they make a motion to write it off, then that's there. We would get it off the books.
So if we can recoup that, how does that get applied?
Right. I mean, so basically.
Jan, do we have you back?
We still have it on our books.
You do, thank you very much,
Right, you bet.
apologize.
Because
No
it's
problem.
not really showing a true,
At this point, it's not an asset, it's a,
no,
it's a nothing.
it's a liability, it's a nothing, is right.
So as I look through the billing, and I'm seeing a lot are listed as current. Does that mean they're all making payments?
No,
The listing that you see there is the most recent listing we have, and it's at least 18 months old.
yes. I mean, it was back in 21.
Right, but a lot of these are dated services rendered and,
18,
yeah, that are still listed as current.
That's her listing is correct. Yes. For
And
billing.
that's the most updated we can get from our,
We did request an updated listing
She was-
last month.
I didn't get one.
Yeah, I prefer not to read it here, but we did request, we did receive a response.
So this agenda item is just to clean up the financial books. We're gonna talk separately about
What to do about it.
what to do about it. So I'll make a motion to approve the financial adjustments.
Second.
the motion is second, any discussion we want to have now? then?
Is this the time to approve it, or do we need to discuss the options first?
Right, that's what I was.
I don't think this necessarily impacts any action we might take.
I mean, we're not writing, I mean, we're taking them off our books, we're not forgiving them. They're
Okay.
still out there.
Gotcha.
That's the
But I
clarity.
think we can take it off
Okay.
our books and that does it.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, so I have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Or do I need it? Roll call, since we're taking this off.
Financial.
It probably doesn't hurt.
Okay, we're gonna do roll call. Spear,
Aye.
Riley,
Aye,
Welch.
Aye.
Bowers.
Aye.
Mauer.
Aye.
Doherty.
Aye.
Ambulance financial adjustments approved. Year-end fund transfers.
Okay, so now we have more money. Okay, so I did put in a memo on there too that, last year we did not do a transfer from general fund to pool or to ambulance, and we really should have. Time just got away, and we were gonna do it in the beginning of '23, and then that didn't happen. So, we wanna make the adjustment, it's actually for 2 years, it's for '22 and '23. So the pool is looking at 95,000, and, 60,000 of that will come out of Fund 211, second penny, and third penny would be 35,000. Whoops, did I say that wrong? Third penny is 60,000.
Correct.
Yeah, second penny is 35,000 for the pool, so there's our 95,000. And then for the ambulance fund, it would all come out of second penny for 197,000.
So is that the total or is that per year is that much?
No, that's for 2 years.
So over the course of 2 years,
Yeah,
little less than 2 years.
just about 2 years.
Well, yeah, that's what
It's more than
previous,
that,
yeah.
yeah.
This is to cover our operating losses for the pool and for the ambulance.
The last 2 years, correct.
For the last 2 years.
I really hope an ambulance district is created.
Yeah,
That's a salty number for our
Yeah, that's
taxpayers.
a
Not a big number.
Alan and I earlier today discussed some recent developments in other parts of the state with ambulance
That's the ambulance.
services shutting down.
For 2 years,
And,
but.
there are still no long-term solutions here in southeast South Dakota for providing an essential service, so.
Wow.
We'll be able to call dispatch, but not
We
have an
will.
ambulance come. And we've previously, not ambulance specific, but for the pool, we had previously discussed ideas to make up that deficit. I think this group did. But unfortunately, then it would just be, I think we decided not to do anything further because it would.
We did do better on concessions.
And a pool
Not
operating
this
at a $50,000 a year shortfall, I mean, that's kind of in the
Kind of
ballpark
normal,
of
right?
Yeah, it's
what we
normal.
expected
Mhm.
for that event. The ambulance one though hurts.
Right, that, I don't recall it being that high, but I don't have.
That's
that
for
far.
2 years.
Yeah, we're typically budgeted for 75 every year.
Motion to approve the year-end transfers.
Second.
We have motion is second, any further discussion there?
We definitely need to keep that conversation alive as to how we can gain some assistance from those that receive services.
Right.
Agree. I know Alan will be going to the townships again this winter at their annual meetings to request assistance. He did say that, if I remember Alan, Perry's the only one that's ever contributed
On a regular basis.
on a regular basis. There'll be sporadic contributions here and there from others. I think Delaware Township has provided in the past. The only sustainable solution for this is the district.
Right.
So the ambulance squad is talking about how to still make that happen. We would obviously support that as well, so.
Any idea approximate number of residents outside the municipality that would be in a district? Is that a rough number?
I'm sure I have it.
I feel like we had it way back when we.
Yeah, we had that one public.
Yeah,
Right.
a lot of people are receiving services.
Right, which, I was just thinking,
Would it
take
make
that
up-
times what, would give you,
Would it make up
95
the
grand a year.
deficit, is that what you're asking?
yeah,
Maybe Alan knows the answer to that.
wouldn't be a lot.
Right.
Divided amongst that many people.
I don't have an accurate number of how many that would include, but it would include the communities of Worthing and Chancellor as well.
Right,
Or part of Chancellor and all of Worthing,
right.
so.
cover 189 square miles total. And the more the territory grows with all these acreages that are popping up, that's that many more residents within our rural district that we're covering.
Right.
Just in Turner County, I wanna say we had 500 voters. So you figure like 750 residents in that area. Looks like even more. I'm looking at the Turner County voter list from a couple years ago. 574
Registered voters.
registered voters in
Yeah,
that
sure.
district in Turner County only.
So I think,
So consider that
have
times
some kids in
plus
there.
Lincoln.
Right.
And how
wow,
much more
Wouldn't be-
sparsely populated that would
wouldn't be
be.
very much per,
Right.
instead of being solely on the city of Lennox
Yes.
taxpayers back.
Roll call.
Okay, yeah, let's do roll call. Mauer.
Aye.
Riley.
Aye.
Sweer.
Aye.
Welch.
Aye.
Doherty.
Aye.
Bowers.
Aye.
All right, your fund transfer is approved. Next is under personnel, street maintenance specialist.
Mayor and council, we have interviewed and gone through the background check process and everything else for street maintenance specialist. I'm having trouble pulling it up on my iPad.
26. Andrew
But,
Lambert.
recommend a motion to approve hiring
Andrew Lambert.
Andrew Lambert at $26 an hour as street maintenance specialist. Thank you.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion is second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, street maintenance specialist approved.
Get on board for
Get on
ourselves.
board.
Looks like we're dry for 2 weeks, so.
Yeah.
Motion to enter exec.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.